It's Saturday. You check your account. And the safe number you counted on is whipping around like a drunk compass in a hurricane. Gold snaps, silver whips. Up, down, sideways, like someone is yanking the steering wheel while you're on the highway. That is not a normal market. That is a stress test. And here's the part most people don't want to hear. That shock move wasn't random. It wasn't just volatility. It was a signal, a flare in the night. Because the system does this right before it breaks something big. It shakes the weak hands out. It spikes the margin. It changes the rules mid-game. And it forces you to sell at the worst moment. They call it orderly. They call it healthy. They call it a reset. But when the floor drops and a lifetime of savings can lose a year of value in a week, that's not a reset. That's a trapdoor. And if you're 55 plus, if your savings isn't extra money, if it's your life, your retirement, your dignity, then you need to understand what just happened and what happens next. Because from this point forward, 3 levels decide whether this turns into a rebound or a full-blown financial elevator shaft. And today I'm going to tell you the real trigger, the one most channels won't say out loud. This is A.G. Porter. And we're not here to help you feel better. We're here to help you survive what's coming. Imagine this. It's Friday night. You stop for gas. Your card declines, not because you're broke, because the network is down. So you drive to an ATM. Black screen. No cash. You refresh your banking app. It spins and spins. And then it logs you out. You tell yourself, it'll be back in the morning. But morning comes, and the bank has a message taped to the door. Temporary limits for your protection. Protection. From who? From you. That is where this road leads. Because when gold and silver start moving like this, it's not just about metals. It's about trust collapsing. Silver didn't dip. Silver got thrown off a roof. Gold didn't cool off. Gold got yanked like a dog on a leash. And you're supposed to believe it's all normal. No, it's not normal. It's a reminder. A reminder that everything you were taught about safe money is built on the same foundation as a casino chip. A promise, a counterparty, a we'll pay you later. And when the building catches fire, promises burn first. So what was the trigger? 2 things hit at once. First, a macro shock. The kind that flips markets in minutes. A rate narrative, a policy whisper, a headline about debt, a war rumor, a risk-off stampede. Second, the quiet weapon nobody talks about until it's too late. Margin requirements. When margin rules jump, forced selling starts. Not because people want to sell, because they must. It's like being on a lifeboat, and someone starts cutting seats off with a saw. Suddenly people are fighting. Not because they're evil, because they're scared. That's what you're watching. And the sleeping herd. They still think the government has a net under them. They don't. Let's talk about the safety nets. FDIC. Government backstops. Bailouts. Stimulus. Emergency programs with comforting names. Here's what you need to understand. Those nets are made of the same material as the problem. More paper, more debt, more digits. This isn't politics as a hobby. This is math as a weapon. The modern system runs on one dirty secret. When things go wrong, they don't fix the leak. They print more water and call it a rescue. They can't stop. Because if they stop printing, the debt doesn't get paid. If the debt doesn't get paid, the dominoes fall. So they inflate. Quietly at first. Then loudly. Then all at once. And retirees feel it first. Because you live on a schedule. Groceries, medicine, utilities, rent, property taxes, car repairs, doctor visits. You can't wait it out for 5 years like a 28-year-old with a fresh paycheck and no memory of 2008. You need your money to work now, and you need it to be there when you reach for it. Now look at what just happened in metals. Even after the smash, even after the fear, gold refuses to die. That's not weakness. That's a warning. Because gold doesn't act like that, unless the market is repricing something bigger. And silver? Silver is the polygraph test for the system. It's the metal that exposes stress in industry, stress in money, stress in confidence, all at once. When silver starts acting like a heart monitor in a horror movie, you pay attention. Now here's where the lie gets exposed. They tell you, don't worry, your money is insured, your assets are protected. But what does insured mean in a crisis? It means you get paid in what? In the same currency that's being diluted to fund the rescue. So even if you get your money, you still lose. Because you get it back after it's been chewed up by inflation. That's like surviving a shipwreck and being handed a life jacket full of holes. And here's the clean line you need to remember. This isn't a theory. This is math. When debt grows faster than real production, when money expands to cover deficits, when interest costs rise and the only fix is more borrowing, the purchasing power of paper falls. Every time. And metals? Metals are the scoreboard. Gold doesn't care about speeches. Silver doesn't care about promises. They react to reality. Here's the pattern. The herd never learns. Spike. Smash. Then the real move. Because the system always does this. Step 1. Scare you. Step 2, shake you out. Step 3, reprice the world without you on board. And retirees who trust the net, they're the ones who get left holding soggy paper on the deck. Now we talk about the trap, and I want you to listen like your future depends on it. Because it does. The trap is simple. They want your life to be permission-based. Permission to spend, permission to travel, permission to buy, permission to withdraw, permission to live normally. A world where your wealth is not something you own, but something you access. Like streaming a movie, and if your account gets flagged, the movie stops. Imagine this. You go to buy a used truck. The seller wants cash, but cash is discouraged. You try to withdraw. Limit. You try again. Security review. You call the bank. They read a script. You argue. They apologize. Nothing changes. And now you're standing there feeling your throat tighten, realizing something that hits like ice water. You worked 30 or 40 years, and you still need someone's permission to use your own money. That is the direction of travel, and metals are moving like this because that direction is accelerating. Because the people at the top know something the herd doesn't. They know that confidence is fragile. They know that 1 week of panic can undo 10 years of trust. They know that when the crowd wakes up, it runs. Fast. So what do? They build the fences now. Quietly. With policies. With risk controls. With fraud prevention. With temporary limits. Temporary. Like airport security. Now here's the trapdoor mechanism most people miss. When volatility spikes, institutions demand more collateral. That means margin hikes. That means forced selling. And who gets forced? Not the government. Not the insiders. Not the people writing the rules. You, the regular saver. The retiree. The person who didn't build a fortress of assets outside the system. They push you into paper claims. Then they change the collateral rules. Then they say sorry, it's just risk management. And the sleeping herd nods like it's normal. It's not normal. It's a wealth transfer. From the patient to the panicked. From the saver to the system. And if you don't understand counterparty risk, you don't even see the knife until it's already inside you. So let's bring this into your real life. Imagine this. Inflation bites harder. Insurance premiums jump. Property taxes jump. Your grocery bill becomes a monthly ambush. Your pension statement says you're fine, but the store receipt says you're not. Then the market drops. Your portfolio shrinks. And the government announces an emergency stabilization policy. A new program, a new rule, a new limit, a new form. They promise it's for fairness. They promise it's for security. They promise it's for stability. But what it really does is slow you down, trap you, keep you inside the burning building longer. You can't buy what you want when you want. You can't move your money freely. You can't protect yourself fast enough. That's the trap. And this metals move. This is the warning shot. Now we talk about the exit. Not the fantasy exit. Not get rich. Not trade the swings. The survival exit. Physical gold and physical silver are not just investments. They are bearer assets. Meaning, if you hold it, you own it. No password. No server. No approval. No counterparty. That's why they matter. Because the entire modern world is built on counterparty risk. Your bank balance is a promise. Your brokerage statement is a promise. Your pension is a promise. Your insurance contract is a promise. Even parts of the bond market are a promise stacked on a promise stacked on a promise. And when fear hits, promises get questioned. Now listen carefully. I'm not telling you to panic. I'm telling you to prepare. Think of it like this. The Titanic didn't sink because passengers lacked optimism. It sank because it hit ice. Optimism doesn't stop physics. And government promises don't stop math. So what does preparation look like? It looks like being your own central bank. Not with spreadsheets. Not with apps. Not with clever words. With real assets you can hold. Because the goal isn't to time the market. The goal is to reduce your dependence on a system that can freeze you out. Now let's talk about the 3 levels that decide what happens next. Not because levels are magic. Because levels are psychology. They're doors. And when price reaches a door, the crowd chooses. Fear or confidence. Exit or surrender. For gold, the first door is the psychological gate. A clean round number that the world watches. If gold reclaims that gate and holds, it tells you the smash was a shakeout. The bid is still alive. The lifeboats are still being filled. The second door is the line in the sand. The zone where buyers must prove they're real. If gold loses that line and can't climb back quickly, it tells you forced selling is still in the building. The third door is the recent peak. The alarm bell. If gold ever charges back toward that peak again, it's not just a rally. It's the market screaming that confidence is cracking. Now silver. Silver is the brawl in the alley. It moves faster. It bleeds more. It recovers harder. And it exposes the system's stress like nothing else. Silver has a floor where buyers must show up. If it breaks and stays broken, you're watching a liquidation cycle, not a dip. Silver has a battle zone where control changes hands. If it holds, buyers are regaining oxygen. If it fails, the sellers are still pressing your face into the pavement. And silver has an escape hatch, a ceiling where if it clears, the fear bid can come back fast, violently, suddenly, like a stampede in a narrow hallway. Now, I want you to notice something. These aren't random numbers. They're the psychological doors in the hallway. And the hallway leads to one question. Will the system regain trust, or will people demand real value again? Because when enough people stop believing in paper promises, they run toward what can't be printed. Gold, silver. Not because they love metals, because they fear what happens when rules change overnight. Now let's hit the core concept you need to tattoo on your brain. Counterparty risk. If you don't hold it, you don't control it. If you don't control it, you're relying on someone else's ability and willingness to deliver. And in a crisis, willingness disappears first. That's why physical metal isn't about chasing a better return. It's about removing a weak link from your chain, because the system is a chain of weak links. Banks rely on liquidity. Liquidity relies on confidence. Confidence relies on calm. And calm is gone in a single headline. So what do? We stop acting like passengers. We start acting like owners. Owners of real assets. Owners of real choices. Owners of a reserve that doesn't need permission. And yes, that includes holding some physical gold and silver as a personal insurance policy. Not to brag, not to gamble, not to impress anyone. To breathe, to sleep, to know that if the ATM is black, you're not helpless. Now let me ask you a question. If your bank told you tomorrow you could only withdraw a small amount per week, would that change how you see your balance? If your retirement account froze for maintenance during a sell-off, would you still believe you're in control? Because control is the whole game, and the system has been slowly teaching people to hand control away. Convenience, apps, tap to pay, auto draft, subscriptions, a life where you don't touch anything real. It feels smooth, until it isn't. Imagine this. You wake up, a headline hits, markets are down hard, and your account shows pending. Pending. That word is a coffin lid. You call, you wait on hold. You hear apologies. You hear policy. You hear nothing that helps. And somewhere someone is still trading, still moving, still protected. Not you. That's why we don't let the herd lull us back to sleep. We watch the doors. We read the signals. We build lifeboats before the ship tilts. Now one more hard truth. Paper metals and physical metals are not the same animal. A paper promise can be halted, paused, settled, cash settled, delayed, rolled, rewritten. Physical metal just sits there, quiet, heavy, honest, and in a world of digital illusions, honesty is priceless. Now am I telling you to sell everything and buy metal? No. Nobody responsible says that. But I am saying this. If you have zero outside the system, if every dollar you own exists as someone else's promise, you are trusting the Titanic to never hit ice. And that's a bet, not a plan. A plan spreads risk. A plan reduces dependency. A plan gives you options. Because the goal isn't to win arguments online. The goal is to protect your life, your retirement, your family, your ability to say no when the system says comply. That's what freedom looks like at 65. It's not a Lamborghini. It's options. And that's why the shock move matters. Because it's the system showing its teeth. Just for a second. Enough to remind you who's really in control. Now listen closely. The herd will see this move and say, see, it came back. All good. They'll go back to sleep. We won't. Because we know the pattern. Shake out. Then reprice. And in the next reprice, the doors will narrow. So here's what you do. You stay calm. You stay sharp. You don't chase noise. You watch the gold doors. You watch the silver doors. You watch for rule changes. You watch for temporary policies that never leave. And you build your reserve like a grown adult who's seen storms before. Slow, steady, methodical. Because desperation is expensive. Preparation is cheap. And here's the part they never put on the brochure. In a real crisis, speed matters. Not because you're panicking. Because the rules can change between dinner and sunrise. One memo, one temporary order, one weekend, and suddenly the door you plan to use is locked. And if you want to be extra careful, talk to a qualified professional you trust. Not a salesman, not a headline, a real professional. Because your situation matters. But do not outsource your awareness. Don't hand your mind to the herd. If you want to survive what's coming, not emotionally, financially, then you need to stay ahead of the sleeping crowd. The sleeping herd waits for permission. We don't. Subscribe to AG Reporter. If you want the truth in plain language, the real triggers, the levels that matter, and the moves the system makes before it admits anything is wrong. Because the people who win in the next phase won't be the loudest. They won't be the flashiest. They won't be the ones posting memes while their savings evaporate. They'll be the ones holding lifeboats before the ship tilts. And leave this thought sitting in your chest tonight. When the system gets nervous, it doesn't warn you. It moves. And by the time the herd notices, the exit is already narrower.